it was getting very big when Run DMC was there, but now it's on everywhere you go, you hear hip hop. You turn on the television, Snoop Dogg is right there. You turn the channel, it's Snoop Dogg again. So it's like we're much more accessible, more global, more pop than ever.
King from Queens, the Run DMC Story will premiere on Peacock on February 1st. So what made you want to tell the group's story now?
Again, I keep telling people the same thing. It's like, it kind of like fell into place. If you think about it, the 50th year of hip hop just went past. Right. Here we are now. It wasn't like I chose it. It felt like it was a little serendipity involved. Like God jumped in and said, here's my timing. So I don't take much credit for the timing of it. So it was like, I'm happy it came.
Absolutely. And this, obviously, the docu-series takes a look at how Run DMC came to be. You know, how was it for you to look back at and remember everything you and DMC have done in your career?
It kind of pops through my mind all the time, but looking at it on one big docu-series is different. But it's touching. It's touching to remember some of the times of, you know, first getting on the turntables or first getting on the mic or playing a show like Live Aid was such a big moment. You know, hundreds of thousands of people there. And Run DMC, here I am, 19 years old, not knowing if the crowd's going to like us or, you know, what's it going to be like. And then I'm looking at this crowd and they're singing King of Rock. So it's like, wow. So it's very touching to see all that history.
Of course. And, you know, with Run DMC's impact on hip hop, the docu-series features interviews from many hip hop artists, including 𝐿.Cool J and the Beastie Boys. And for those two, how close were all you guys during that time, especially when hip hop was on the rise?
It was good hanging out with LL and the Beastie Boys on the road. It was a very competitive time. Everybody wants to kill the mic, get on the mic and make the crowd cheer. So it was very fun and it was very empowering and it was very freeing to be, you could imagine 19 years old, 20 years old and performing for 20,000 people with 𝐿.Cool J. It was thrilling, playing with the Beastie Boys. So it was almost like a dream. So the camaraderie was great. The fun times were great. And it was just a miracle.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that stood out with the docu-series, and I didn't even remember this growing up, is media members at the time just talking about not really giving hip hop a chance. They thought it would be a fad. So, you know, do you think, was it the fact that it was so different and it stood out, hip hop stood out so much that media members thought the genre would go away quickly?
I heard it a little bit, but it would go in one ear and come out the other because I was doing it for myself and for the crew. Like before Run DMC was the Cold Crush Brothers and Grandmaster Flash. And we listening to them and we love it. We're not thinking about what a media person. We're just trying to jam, trying to listen to this amazing music. So for somebody to ask me what more, how's it going to last? I'm like, I'm not thinking about lasting. I'm thinking, thank God that it's on the radio. I'm happy it played on my local radio station. I'm not even thinking how big this can be. I'm thinking, this is huge. I'm on the radio, Mom. You know, that's how I felt. So if you put on the radio and you hear your record, that's as high as I could think. So if somebody comes along and says, well, what are you going to be doing 10 years from now? Like, dude, I'm on the radio, out of my way type of vibe. Yeah. I couldn't hear those judgments. I was having too much fun, being grateful.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Live Aid and how big that moment was for the entire group. But do you think that was the turning point for you guys when it comes to being a household name, or was it something else?
I think that, I don't know if that was the event or being on MTV was the event or cover of Rolling Stone, any of that stuff. I just was watching it. It just seemed like it started and just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So it was no moment. It was moments up to this moment talking to you. So it was just all array of moments.
And one of those moments was one good moment was Walk This Way being a big hit. Did you ever think that song would make the lasting impact on hip hop and rock the way it did?
I didn't know. I was just, Walk This Way is a strange one because we used to just rap over the beat. We never knew what the vocals were because the DJ's job was to make sure that you never heard the vocals. Because if you hear the vocals, then you have nothing to rap over. We would rap over the Aerosmith beat. So by the time we made the record and Rick Rubin was like, why don't you do the vocals that they did? I'm like, I don't even know what they're saying. But then we learned what they were saying and we did it over. So I had no idea what was going to happen with anything, but definitely didn't know what was going to happen with Walk This Way. No way. No way.
At the start of the docuseries, or in the early stages of the docuseries, you talk about meeting D.M.C. for the first time, and both of you were really young. So what was it about D.M.C. That made you want to work with him and be partners with him?
Well, I met him in elementary school at St. Pat, and we weren't thinking about rap at the time. We just was like hanging, playing basketball. Maybe we DJ'd in his basement, rapped around the corner, but we wasn't thinking, oh, we're going to put together a group and take over the world. It just kind of fell into place. But about D, he was a really cool dude. You know, as far as I was concerned, he had swag. He knew how to play football. He had a basketball court in his yard. He was very cool. You know, nice dude to hang around and have fun with as a kid for friendship.
Of course. And he's also in the comics too, which is something I like. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, one of the other things that the docuseries shows is you reuniting with D.M.C. for the 50 years of hip hop celebration in New York last year. But overall, how was that experience for you guys?
It was cool. It was a big place. I appreciate Nas for putting it together. It was at Yankee Stadium. It was a way to definitely put an exclamation point. But I'll never say never, but that was called our last concert, but it was very, very fun. I thought it was going to be at Madison Square Garden, but it got so big that it ended up being with much more artists, and it ended up being at Yankee Stadium, which is a very cool place to end a career.
Absolutely. And one last question for me before I let you go is, and you know, now that it's been 50 years of hip hop, what's the biggest difference you noticed about the genre today?
It's much bigger.
Yeah.
It was getting very big when Run DMC was there, but now it's on everywhere you go, you hear hip hop. You turn on the television, Snoop Dogg is right there. You turn the channel, it's Snoop Dogg again. So it's like we're much more accessible, more global, more pop than ever. That's my answer.
Of course. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Well, Rev Run, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it, and continued success to you. Kings from Queens, the Run DMC story will premiere on Peacock on February 1st. So what made you guys want to tell the group's story now?
Well, I guess everything kind of lined up, because what had happened is this.
Yeah.
When the biopic craze came out, you know, Straight Outta Compton came out, Pox came out big, and then New Edition had theirs, of course. Oh, Run DMC should do the story. But Run DMC is infamous. Run DMC is known for doing things that everybody do, but a little differently. So at this time, where everybody's doing biopics, let us put out a documentary. Switch it up a little bit, like we did when we put Suck MCs out. And it just, because of COVID, the doc would have came out earlier. COVID kind of slowed everything down, but that allowed the stars to line up correctly so that we could be in tune, like right after the 50th year of hip hop celebration. And that works out, because if you go to an encyclopedia, a dictionary, or if you go and Google hip hop, you're not going to see a description of it. You're going to see a picture of me running Jay like this.
Exactly.
So I think it's a perfect time to let people know it's been 50 years of hip hop, but we still got a lot of work to do. We've proven we could sell records and make some money and do all of that stuff. But in our communities, as a culture, in our societies, in the educational system, there's a lot of things you could look at and see what Run DMC inspired and motivated, and all the people that's going to be talking about Run DMC and Jam Master Jay, what that diverse collection of people and individuals was able to do. We need to start doing that again so that we can have that rebirth and renaissance of advancement for our culture. Like, a lot of people think hip hop just created rappers. You know, Eminem, when he inducted us in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he looked at me and Run and said, nobody will ever do what you, Run and D did, because y'all were the first to do it in the music business. But the first people to do it was everybody before Rappers Delight, before recorded hip hop. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Soul Sonic Force and the Zulu Nation, Treacherous Street, and Funky 4+1 with Sha Rock, which was a girl MCs. They were coming from a place of death, darkness, and destruction. They took the art and creativity and the music and the poetry that was in them to create a culture that was going to advance not just them and their bank accounts, but it advanced our communities. Run DMC took their blueprint, brought it into the entertainment business. We didn't change because we was in the entertainment business or showbiz. We came in and we changed entertainment and show business, which had effect for everybody listening, watching, or coming to those shows. So when you see the Run DMC story, they're talking about us, but if you took Run DMC out the picture and sat down with Ice-T, he's going to realize he was just talking about himself. We just showed him how to do it because the real pioneers and legends prior to Rapper's Delight showed us what to do. Don't get in the music business and conform to the rules and regulations. Don't join those cults. Don't mess with the Illuminati. Don't do none of that. Just me running Jay-Z said, we're going to DJ and we're going to MC the same way we were doing it in the parks, in the streets, and the parties of our neighborhood. We're taking that to Germany. We're taking that to Compton. We're taking that to Asia. And we was able to do that.
Absolutely. I think one of the other interesting things about the docuseries is the media talking about, at that time, hip hop being a fad is not going to last. Yeah. Why do you think reporters thought that John was not going to last? Because I guess because
Disco had died. I got your answer. Disco had died. It's funny. Now, I can never critique another person's creativity, but over the last 30 years, I would say, when hip hop, after the gangster rap craze, when hip hop started to change, now they got mumble rap, they got all these titles for it. I was speaking at a high school in the Bronx, right? And the kid asked me, yo, Mr. DMC, because I'm 59 years old now. If I was 20 or 21 or 18, it would have said, yo, DMC. But it was Mr. DMC. What do you think about mumble rap, right? So the kids is asking me this. I'm in a high school class in the Bronx. So they want me at 59 years old to turn and be the old whippersnapper. You young whippersnapper, you don't know nothing about hip hop. I didn't do that. I said, I could relate to mumble rap. And they was like, huh? What do you mean? How could you say that? Because they wanted me to hate and be old like I am. But I said, the only difference between my generation and your generation is this. When they criticized us, we did something about it. They said the same thing about us, Brian. They said, you ain't saying nothing. Hip hop to hip it. They credit, right? And it's true. But when they did that, we stopped the music and we wrote It's Like That. We wrote Planet Rock. We wrote The Message. We wrote Problems of the World Today. Go back and look at the array of records that had just much importance as a Bob Dylan song or a Curtis Mayfield song that we, people who said you're just a fad, it's not going to last. But what had happened was when disco died and got thrown out, because people started to hate on disco. And people don't know this. Hip hop is a cousin of disco. We couldn't get into Studio 54. But the thing that we knew that they were doing behind those doors was like, yo, people are getting together in the midst of death, darkness, destruction, poor economic, poor educational system, and the poverty that was blowing up through New York. People are going into Studio 54 and they're playing music and dancing and having a good time. So we didn't have real estate. We didn't have money. We didn't have no place to do it. So we said, we're going to do the same thing they're doing in Studio 54 in the streets of New York. So for that little bit of time, we were just having a disco in the streets of New York without having to pay for the venue. You know what I'm saying? But the concept was this. When disco died, we didn't have access to studios. We didn't, some of us didn't. They took all the music programs out of the schools. So once you had band practice, you ain't had that shit no more. So we only had the vinyl records that our mothers and fathers and that we grew up on. So we took those records to the park. When disco died and they threw it away, we said, nope, that shit ain't garbage. Give it to us. So we started doing these disco records. If you listen to the early days of hip hop, it was very R&B. It was very disco. If you listen to all the early, I'm the disco man I'm the disco rapping this, and you know what I'm saying? So when we started selling these records, the critics was just going by what they were seeing happening with this certain genre called disco, because we were a reflection of disco that we was doing in the streets. And I'm talking about before we got Planet Rock and The Message, they was looking at us for hip hop to throw your hands in the air. They was like this. All the journalists and critics was like, this party right here, this specific is not going to last too long. So DMC's responsibility is, oh no, y'all are just judging by the records we make. But with or without y'all, the critics in the music business, this hip hop culture will be here forever. So when Run DMC got signed to a record deal, me and Run and Jay, we did what we was doing in the parks and the streets in the basement. It was Jay. We never had DAT machines. We never had nothing in the street. It was vinyl records. Jay put the beat on, me and Run going to rap. So once we started doing that and the world started doing that, they still didn't even believe when Walk This Way and My Adidas dropped. We done brought Aerosmith back. I don't play no basketball. I get signed to a sneaker deal like Jordan and Magic and all of them, and they still ain't believing us. But the reason why was they were paying attention and they were paying attention to industry fads. When you have an industry fad, those things will die. You know what I'm saying? But when you're dealing with a culture is a way of life. You know what I'm saying? The Eskimos don't change their way of life just because National Geographic comes to Alaska to do a report on them. So Run DMC knew it was our responsibility to say, oh no, y'all judging us by record sales and radio play. We don't want record sales and we're getting them because we're good at what we're doing. But have you ever seen Grand Wizard Theodore DJ at Harlem World while the Fantastic Five did their routine? Have you ever seen DJ Charlie Chase, Tony Tone, and the Cold Crush at Harlem? No. Have you ever seen the Funky 4+1 at the Autobahn Ballroom with Malcolm X got assassinated, put on a hip-hop show, not even doing recorded records, making up as they go on? No. So me, Run, and Jay knew it was our responsibility to show people what our culture's really about.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Well, DMC, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it, and continued success to you.